Hello and welcome to the third CTIS Bitesize talks of 2024. My name is Josipa Vrkljan and I'm a project assistant at EMA. Let me start with some housekeeping rules. Questions for this event have been collected via Slido using the code BT20GEN. Please note that we will address only the questions related to the theme of the event, implementation of revised CTIS transparency rules. After the presentations, we will have the Q&A session. If the video screen is blurry or difficult to see, please read the instructions in the box underneath the live video broadcast section of the event page. There you can find a link to watch the live broadcast on full screen. Please make sure that you have a stable internet connection. Now I would like to introduce our experts for today's event. With us, we have Francesca Scotti. She is the CTIS Transparency Lead here at EMA, and we also have Giovanni Varicchio, who is a scientific specialist at EMA. On the screen, you can see the agenda for today's event. Now, I would like to give floor to my colleague, Francesca.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Bitesize talk on the revised CTIS transparency rules. We can go actually to the previous slide, please. Thank you. So let's start with the reason why we're here. There is a specific article in the clinical trial regulation that regulates transparency and is the legal basis for the establishment of a publicly accessible clinical trial database that needs, however, to ensure protection of confidential information that are commercially confidential and personal data. And also, of course, information on the assessment conducted by member states. The agenda is on the screen. We're going to go through the implementation of the revised transparency rules with the date of implementation. I'm going to go through again a bit the revised rules, although they were already presented in November, but let's make sure that everyone is on board with them, and then we're gonna go through the historical trials arrangements, which are all the trials that are submitted before the 18th of June 2024, as well as with the reference documentation. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so the 18th of June marks the applicability of the revised CTIS transparency rules. Those rules were endorsed by the EMA Management Board back in October, the 5th of October 2023. And their applicability, of course, is from when the public portal went live, which is the 18th of June. This means that all the trials that are going to be submitted from the 18th of June on will follow the principles and the timelines of the revised rules. All the trials that have been submitted before the 18th of June are considered historical and will follow the timelines of the revised rules with regards to the structured data, while with regards to the documents, specific arrangements are made, but for now the documents are not publicly available. And we go back to this in the historical trial section. I would like to highlight that the rules are summarized in the Annex 1 of the guidance document on how to approach the protection of personal data in CCI while using CTIS. So you can all refer to this document. And there is also an Excel file that I will show you later with all the specific fields on whether they're published or not, depending to the category of trials, but we go back to this later. The Q&A on the protection of CCI and personal data also includes some details that some of them have been agreed with member states. And of course, you can refer in the future to the present Bitesize talk that is recorded and will be made publicly available. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so let's go through the modality of disclosure in CTIS as per revised rules. That is also defined in Chapter 2 of the mentioned guidance documents. Next slide. Thank you. So as you can see from this slide, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with it because it's the same as the one published in the quick user guide, only the most recent authorized application of any trial, as well as any not authorized initial clinical application, is made publicly available as per timelines that are mainly based on the trial category. That is, the trial category is selected in the form section, and you need to select it, as you know, depending on the trial type. And here you can see a summary of the trial types. The same table is present in both the revised transparency rules as well as in the guidance on the protection of CCI and personal data. For category 1 trials, the publication rules are also influenced by the population age. And for category 2 trials, by also the trial phase, in case they're specifically integrated phase 1 and 2. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so let's go through the publication of structured data. As I mentioned, this is also in table 1 of Annex 1 to the guidance document. Slide. Okay, so with regards to the CTIS application fields that are filled in by the sponsor, the most of the trials have most of the application fields publicly available as of decision date. And here we're speaking about specifically category 1 pediatrics, category 2 and category 3 trials. With regards to category 1 trials in adults, some fields are not made publicly available as of decision date, but only 30 months after the end of trial in the EU EEA. With regards to category 1 trials and integrated phase 1 and 2 trials, specific fields of the product are also made publicly available 30 months after the end of trial in the EU EEA. The conclusion and assessment and decision outcomes, so not comments, only the outcomes, are made publicly available for transparency reasons as of MSC decision, as well as the notifications of the trial status and recruitment that are submitted by the sponsors. In case there are safety notifications, so serious breaches, urgent safety measures, unexpected events, those notifications are made publicly available after the assessment of the member states, with the exception of category 1 trials in adults, where they are made publicly available only 30 months after the end of trial and after, of course, the assessment of the member state has occurred. The corrective measures, and those fields are entered by the member states, those fields are made publicly available upon application of the member states. Next slide. With regards to the specific fields that I mentioned before that are made publicly available of the specifically of the adults, category 1, the following are made publicly available as of MSC decision. So the title, the identifiers, the phase, the medical condition, the population age, the sponsor's details, and the details of the clinical investigator site. So these fields were also the previously called main characteristics fields that were also previously made publicly available as of decision date. All the other fields for category 1 trial in adults are not made publicly available as of decision date, but only 30 months after the end of trial in the EU EEA. The same is applicable for CTIS application fields that regards the dose values that are made publicly available 30 months after the end of trial in EU EEA for category 1 in pediatrics, adults, and integrated phase 1 and 2. Thank you. Next slide. I would like to emphasize that the following fields that were previously made publicly available now are no longer made publicly available, and specifically the legal representative details and the RFI and RFI responses that could contain CCI. Those fields will never be made publicly available. So these are the main fields that differ from the previous transparency rules. Let's go to the next one. Thank you. The publication of documents is also detailed in Annex 1 of table of the guidance document, but in Table 2. Let's go through them. So as you can see, the protocol, the synopsis, and the patient-facing documents are made publicly available as of MSc decision for most of the trials, which are the Category 2 and the Category 3. With regards to Category 1 trials in pediatric subjects, those are made publicly available as of results submission, together with the results. And for Category 1 trials in adults, they're made publicly available 30 months after the EU-EA end of trial, so even after the publication of, the submission of results. The SMPC, the Subject Information and Informed Consent Form, as well as the recruitment arrangements are never being made publicly available for Category 1 trials, while they are made publicly available as of decision date for Category 2 and 3 trials. I would like to emphasize that the sponsor needs to pay attention on uploading the specific documents in the correct placeholder. Otherwise, if you upload a document that is not supposed to be published in a placeholder that is marked for publication, your document will be published. So this is also emphasized in the Annex 1 of the guidance document. The summary of results, and we're speaking here about the final summary of results, because the intermediate summary of results or interim summary of results is the same thing, is not made publicly available. So the final summary of results, together with the layperson summary, is made publicly available upon submission for all trials, except for the Category 1 trials in adults. Of course, the results are expected within 6 months for pediatric trials and within 1 year for trials conducted solely in adults. So that deadline of 30 months give a bit more time for Category 1 trials in adults results to be disclosed. The CSR, however, is made publicly available upon submission, and the requirement would be 30 days in case there is marketing authorization. And any other document, including the member states documents, are never made publicly available. This includes the curriculum vitae of the PI, the cover letter, the investigation terms brochure. Those documents are never made publicly available. The inspection reports, the assessment reports, never made publicly available. Any document that you do not see in this slide is not made publicly available. Here again, we're speaking about placeholders of documents. Of course, it's up to you to upload the correct document in the correct placeholder. Next slide. Thank you. So this is a slide that was present already in the previous version of the quick user guide. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. In order to implement the revised transparency rules, as you know, the number of documents has been that is made publicly available has been reduced. And therefore, in the workspaces, the number of documents that are marked for publication had to be also reduced. So we're focusing here the publication on key documents of interest. And therefore, for all those documents that are no longer published, for example, the investigator's brochure, the system had to remove the former version for publication, unless no not for publication version was linked to it. So in the example, we see a placeholder where the document version for publication was uploaded together with the document version not for publication. And in that case, only the former not for publication version can now be seen. The second example is when we had only one single document uploaded for publication, and in that case, this version that is that was formerly for publication and now is the unique version is kept. In the case when, for example, we had 3 documents, one for publication and one not for publication that was linked to one of them, instead of 4 documents, 3 documents are kept. 2 former for publications that had no not for publication linked, and 1 former not for publication. So the for publication document that was linked to the not for publication, that specific for publication document cannot be seen anymore in the system. This is a bit of a specific concept, and I hope that sponsors could read the information already provided previously in the quick user guide on this topic. But however, can we go to the next slide, please? We thought about including here a table that appears complicated, but if you go through it, I hope it's readable with some examples. And this same table is going to be also included soon in the quick user guide for sponsors to refer to, because in these 2 days when Public Portal was live, we received actually 1 question so far only on the fact that a sponsor noticed that in case the language changes, so in case the sponsor uploaded different languages in different placeholders, all the languages are kept. So this is a good news for sponsors. Document 1 for publication in English, document 2 for publication in German. If the linked not for publication versions were in other languages, that means that also the for publication versions are kept. So this is the example you see in the last row of this slide. You see also the examples that I gave before. I won't read the full slide, but I hope that it can be a useful reference point for sponsors. I would like to take the occasion to say that in some cases, the users will still see both for publication and not for publication versions in the workspaces. Link this means that in that case the link was lost, so that the system could not distinguish between the 2 versions. So this is why it's happening, just to give you an explanation. But I would like to reassure you that in any case the document is still not publicly available. So even if you see for publication, the document won't be published. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so let's go to the topic of historical trials. This was initially in our Q&A that was published in November. So sponsors were informed well in advance on the approach of historical trials, as well as on the interim period approach that, of course, is no longer applicable since the 18th of June. The topic has been moved from the Q&A to the guidance document. I'm going to quickly show you later. So in section 2.3 of the guidance document, you will see specificities that are applicable to historical trials. Next slide. And what are historical trials? As you know, they are all the trials that were submitted, so not created in the workspaces, but submitted before the 18th of June. Okay, so for these trials, And this includes also trials that are currently under assessment. Now we speak as the 20th of June. So currently there are trials submitted, but not publicly available because under assessment. For those trials, you will see only the structured data published. The documents will not be published. How are the structured data of these trials published? They're published for all trial categories as per revised rules. So not as per former rules, but the revised rules apply to these trials only for the structured data part. The documents will not be published. And this applies to all historical trials, regardless of the fact that the sponsors had applied for a deferral or not. Why is that? Is because, of course, the sponsors, when they submitted their documents for those trials, had the expectation that those documents would go publicly available as per timelines agreed in the deferral section. Now, those timelines are no longer applicable, and therefore, so for simplification reason, we had to decide harmonized rules that would be valuable for all trials. And we decided not to disclose these documents. However, as I said, the revised rules are applicable since the 18th of June, and they're also applicable on historical trials, on applications that are submitted on those trials, and specifically on substantial modification part 1, part 2, only part 1 or only part 2, on non-substantial modification part 2, and on additional member states that application that is triggering the publication of part 2 documents only. This means that the documents that are in scope of publication as per revised rules need to be redacted accordingly. So you will need to remove commercially confidential information, because supposedly personal data have been removed already, accordingly. This applies only to that that specific part of the application. Okay, so we can probably go to the next slide. Thank you. You will see an example here. If a substantial modification part 1 is submitted after Tuesday, so as of Tuesday, with the purpose of updating the investigator's brochure, the sponsor needs to make sure that the protocol and the synopsis, for example, will be published, and the SMPC can be published as per revised rules. Okay, so CCI needs to be removed, depending on whether is a category 1, is a category 2 and 3. The sponsor knows when those documents will be publicly available, but they will the authorization of the SM part 1 will trigger the publication of those documents. So this is very important. Of course, all this can be applicable to those kind of applications where the sponsors can update those documents, and therefore for non-substantial modification part 1 and additional member state applications, the publication of part 1 documents will not be triggered. With NSM, the sponsor cannot update the protocol, and therefore the part 1 documents will not be published with this application. The structured data will be, however, updated. So here you see again in green, please, colleagues, make sure that the CCI are properly removed for all the documents that are in scope of the publication and part of your application. Okay. So here in the example, I've already mentioned the example of SM part 1. I want to emphasize, because we're receiving questions, if you submit a substantial modification part 2, the part 1 documents will not be published. If you submit an SM part 1 and 2, all the documents will be published as per revised rules. So it's only referred to that specific application. As mentioned, the NSM Part 1 submitted after the 18th of June triggers an update only of the structured data and not of any documents. So be sure that your protocol will not be published if you cannot modify it and properly remove the CCI. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so a bit of reference documentation. So here there is a list, and probably I was thinking maybe it's the case to actually to share my screen so that I can quickly go through the reference documentation now. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, so I guess you can already see the public portal. I want to emphasize that the documents are published both in the EMA corporate website as well as in the ActEU website. You see the list of documents for reference. And you're already familiar with a quick user guide. However, there is now also an updated version of the guidance document on how to approach the protection of personal data and commercially confidential information. This document was already there last year and has been updated with the principles of the revised rules. The principles of the protection of personal data and commercially confidential information do not change, and only this part mainly has been changed. Of course, we also tried to make the document more readable also for users. So you will notice certain differences, but the principle did not change. So as I said, chapter 2 is focused on the rules and detail how the revised rules are applied. So you will see the submission information and of structured data, of document, the publication rules of the historical trials, as I mentioned before, as well as the transparency aspects of the transition trials. Further information on the personal data protection as well as on protection of CCI are also provided. Chapters that are no longer applicable because they were part of the previous rules are no longer appearing here. This guidance document often refers to this Annex 1. And therefore, here, as I said at the beginning, you will see the clear table that I also showed to you now in the presentation on the application fields. Same for the documents, table 2, documents, and here there is the fact that you need to be careful when uploading the documents in the proper sections. You will see some references to the templates. You can zoom in if you want to see the lines between in the table, as well as the expectation to contain personal data in the documents for publication. There is also the publication rules for historical trials and not authorized applications, as well as the trial categorization and the structured data and documents that are no longer subject to publication. So we hope that this document will be useful for users. Apart from the Annex 1 to the guidance, another useful document is the ActEU Q&A on the protection of CCI. This document is foreseen to be updated more often as it's supposed to be a more living document, let's say, when we receive the questions from sponsors that we think should be included in the Q&A. The Q&A is updated. Also, in case there are things to be discussed with member states, the Q&A is updated accordingly. And this is going to be advertised in the newsflash as well, in our communication channels. And of course, you can always refer to the quick guide for users that I'm sure you are all familiar with. Okay, so we can go back to the presentation because I think there is one last slide for Josipa. I am finished with my presentation. Now there's going to be a demo from Giovanni and a demo from myself. And if you have any question, please, we received already some questions on Slido, but please submit questions to through our service now in the support page of our public website. You can see the links. And we'd like to take the occasion to give a personal big thanks to all my colleagues that worked on this project, on the public portal, and made this portal possible. So the IT colleagues my business colleagues, in particular Giovanni, Laura, and all the business colleagues that helped me with the validation. Okay, so Josipa, I think you shared the slide of the next event.
Thank you, Francesca. We will give floor now to Giovanni for his demo, and then we're going to proceed with the Q&A session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Francesca, and good afternoon, everyone. Now I start sharing my screen so that I will show you the most significant changes that are present in the workspace. So, okay, I suppose that now you are able to look at my screen. This is a test trial that has been created. We now access the initial application of this trial. And now we can go, for example, in some specific section of this trial. For example, we can focus, first of all, to the most significant change, because before in the form section, it was used to have the deferrals category. As you can notice now, this category is not present anymore, but you can see the trial category when you can choose the category over your trial, and you have to put the justification of your trial category. Now I want to proceed with the changes just to show you some specific details. For example, if you have a category 2 trials, and you want to switch your category trial from category 2 from category 1, you have a new specific details, that a new specific pop-up, this one, that show to you the specific information where you can read. Please note that for category 1 trial, the following documents will not be published: recruitment arrangement, subject information, informed consent form, and summary of product characteristics. This means that for this specific document, you always have the version for publication and not for publication, even if your trial category is a category 1. But maybe I want to show you directly this specific document. So now we have our trial, and this is a category 1 trial. So this means that the document that we have seen before are not subject to publication. But if you go in part 2, for example, and if you open the subject information and informed consent form, you still have the possibility to upload a version for publication and the version not for publication, even if your trial is a category 1 trial. Anyway, if your trial is a category 1 trial, there's no need to upload both versions of this document, but you can upload just one document, so the version for publication, but you can be sure that this document is, in any case, is not subject to publication. This has been done just for technical reason, and so there were no other reason. It is just a technical matter, and so this is the reason why you are still able to look to upload the version for publication and not for publication. Now but now I want to show you, for example, some documents that are subject to publication. For example, the protocol section. If you see in the protocol section, you are able to upload the version for publication and not for publication. So nothing has been changed. If we want to add the document here, for example, we have the possibility to attach both versions. So we can start with attaching the version for publication. Once this version has been attached, by clicking on the plus button, you can upload a version not for publication. Obviously, the first document that you need to upload in this specific section and all the sections that are subject to publication are the version for publication. Then clicking on the plus button, you will have the possibility to link the version not for publication. But now, for example, we can switch to another section, and in particular the product section, where we can see the AB that, as you know, now this section is not subject anymore to publication. So if by clicking on the specific section, I am able to add the document in the investigator brochure placeholder. As you can notice, now we have the possibility to upload just one version, that is a version not subject to publication. And in this case, there will be a specific statement down here where it is stated that this document will not be publicly accessible. So we can proceed with the attachment. And also, as you can see, there's no more plus button. So this means that you cannot link a version, another version for this specific document. So, but now maybe I want to show you also another trial, and I would like to show you how to attach, to upload the result for a trial that is already ended. So just a moment. Okay, so now we have this trial. The trial is already ended, and we want to upload the trial results for this trial. So we go in the specific tab, trial results. Then we have the possibility to upload the summary of results and the layperson summary of results. I want to show you a specific thing about the summary of results, because when you click on the plus new button, you have the possibility to upload the summary of results as a version type final or intermediate. Let's proceed with the intermediate summary of results. And let's attach a document. As you can notice here, and I would like to emphasize this aspect, you can read here summary of results for publication. Also, this has been done simply for it is only a technical reason why you are still able to read this information, but you can be sure that if you upload an intermediate summary of results, this document is not subject to publication and will never be published. So I can proceed with the attachment. So I want to stress this, that here you are able to read that this document has been uploaded for publication, but this document is not published because we have in the drop down menu, and it is very important that you select the correct information in the drop down menu. So it is very important that if your results are intermediate, that you select the correct information here. So we have the intermediate summary of result, and we can proceed with the submission. Okay, so our summary of result, intermediate summary of result, have been uploaded in the system. These documents obviously will not be published because we are speaking about of intermediate summary of results. And now, for example, you can proceed with the final summary of results. So in this case, we can attach a document. We can select here in the drop-down menu the final version type. Then we can select just one document, and we can proceed with the attachment and proceed with the submission. Okay, so we have proceeded with the submission of the summary of results, and this document will be published according to the trial category and according to the new revised transparency rule. So only the version type final will be subject to publication and not the intermediate, even if you have the possibility to upload the version for publication and not for publication. This means obviously that when you upload an intermediate summary of the results, there's no reason to upload a redacted version or not redacted version. You can simply upload just one type document, even if it is marked as for publication. This document will never be published. And I think I can stop here with my trial. Maybe I can give the floor again to Francesca.
Thank you very much, Giovanni, for this very clear demo of the workspaces. I will see if I can share my screen. Okay, so you should now see the public portal. So yeah, I am going to go through quickly the public portal now. This, as you can see, it looks similar to the previous one. The difference that you can already see is in this part, and we go back to this later. As you can see, we published over 4,000 results now on Tuesday. So now it's 4,161, which is a very nice number to see. As you can see, you have the option of display options, so you can list the trials, and for each trial, you can see additional options that you can put in different order depending on the element that you want to sort the trial by. And you have a contain of all these terms, any of these terms, and does not contain any of this term, exactly like it was before. You will see that there is a link to the search tips. So if I click on it, the search tips and guidance will be open, where it is highlighted that features like advanced search or downloaded of search results and subscription to the RSS feeds are not not available now. However, we're working on it so that those features can be also publicly available in the future. So the keyword in this implementation of the revised rules was simplifying the public view of trials. So we tried to make everything as simple as possible. You will see the same information that was also presented in the old public portal. However, only as I said before in my presentation, only the latest applications are shown. And for this purpose, you will see an applications tab on the right, and if you click on it, you will see the history of the trial. So in this case, we have an initial that is now only authorized in the Netherlands with relevant dates on the assessment part and decision part. But you no longer see the previous applications, okay? With regards to the full trial information, as I said, we try to simplify as much as possible to give a clear view to users. Therefore, you will no longer see information on the assessment here, but only information on the clinical trial application. And in this case, we have a phase 3 trial, and therefore the rules for category 2 as chosen by the sponsor have been applied, and therefore you see full title. You see a series of elements that you wouldn't see in case of category 1 trials. With regard, you see the concerned member states, the planned number of subjects, the trial site. You will see the PI contact details. This was a request that specifically was made by patients' representatives, but of course, now we only have historical trials in the public portal, and therefore you won't see their documents. The clinical trial application documents are not present for this trial and for probably all the trials of the portal, unless someone submitted an NSM part 2 in the meantime yesterday, because these are historical trials. So once further modifications will be applied to these trials and submitted or authorized, you will start to see also the documents. Now, how does a sponsor know which are the fields that are publicly available and which are the fields that are not publicly available before submitting them? Exactly in the same way the sponsor used to know before. So there are some published documents in our website, in our corporate website, and also linked now in the Annex 1. So if you will click on CTIS application fields and notification or results, you click on them and then you download the relevant Excel file where you have a list, the list of fields of the CTIS application in the workspaces, and you will know if they are publicly available and the timelines under which they're publicly available. This document was also publicly available before. It was also published before the revised rules with the former rules applied. Of course, therefore, there was a specific column on the deferral functionality. But this document was also there before, and our aim in the training on the quick user guide was mainly to highlight the differences with the rules, with the former rules. The document was there before. You see that is it looks a bit different now because we simply changed the colors, but and of course we adapted the document to the current transparency rules. So if the sponsor wants to know which are the fields and which are the documents that are publicly available or are not publicly available, you see, this is a document that is not publicly available, so no, not applicable, not applicable. They can check these documents, okay? Okay, so let's continue. I had started with a category 2 that has most of the fields publicly available. Let's go quickly through a category 1 trials that are previously prepared for you. And as you see, the fields that are not supposed to be publicly available as of decision date for this trial, for this kind of trials, they're not publicly available. So you won't see the full title, you won't see trial identifiers, as well as product details. You won't see them, okay? So everything has been implemented as per rules, which were applicable, which this historical trials rules is applicable to CTIS application information, but not to the results information. And I was able to find a trial that is already that is publicly available without documents information, but with trial results. The sponsor of this trial submitted their results, and those results are publicly available as per revised rules. So I'm sure this is a category 2 or 3 trial. So yes, so that's pretty much it. I wanted to emphasize the use of the Excel file as a reference point, and the fact that in the following months you will see more features in the public portal. But yes, we had to prioritize the features to be made publicly available. For us, our priority was also to publish trials and make them publicly available for the public, researchers, for patients as soon as possible. So this was done on Tuesday. That's it. I think I'm done. I think I can give back the floor to Josipa.
Thank you, colleagues, for detailed presentations and demos. It was very useful. And we are going to proceed with Q&A questions. I would just like to use this opportunity to remind the audience that we will address only the questions that are related to the theme of the event. So, first question. Workspace, regarding the workspace. As of 18 June, only version for not publication is kept. In case the version for publication is present, it will disappear. Track changes version for not for publication alongside clean version for publication before 18 June. Will the clean version disappear? This is needed though. Francesca?
So I'm very happy that we're starting with this question, because this is currently under discussion at member state level. So sponsors will be updated soon on this aspect. It is true that in case the sponsor uploaded a version not for publication that contains track changes version. So colleagues, we're speaking only on specific cases of trials where a substantial modification was submitted and a track changes version was submitted in the not for publication version, and a clean redacted version was only submitted in the for publication version. So in those specific trials, the clean redacted version is no longer present because of the rule that I explained before. We had to delete the for publication documents of those documents kinds that are no longer subject to publication. So we're speaking about investigator's brochure, cover letter, and etc. The sponsor can choose, of course, to when they submit the following future modification of those applications, the sponsor can choose to re-upload the clean version. Now, if they have to or not, this is a matter that is currently under discussion, and we are going to update the sponsors through the Q&A in the upcoming weeks. Okay, so I think that answers the question.
Thank you, Francesca. We're moving to the next question that reads, if a draft application was created before June 18th and will be submitted after June 18th, what will happen with the placeholders uploaded in the sections as for publication? Simply disappear after new release? Francesca?
Yeah, so these questions have been submitted before the implementation of the public portal. So probably most of the sponsors noticed that these for publication versions disappeared, in fact, because the revised transparency rules are now applicable. And this was clearly stated already in the quick user guide. We have already informed it since November, the sponsors, that these the revised transparency rules were only applicable to certain kind of documents, and specifically in the latest version of the Quick User Guide published in April, we emphasize the fact that those documents will no longer be present because of the implementation of the revised transparency rules. Not only that, but as Giovanni showed, also any reference to the deferral function has been removed. And this is not only to the submitted application, but also applicable to the draft applications. Of course, the draft applications are not historical trials applications. Only the submitted applications are. Okay, we can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How will the subject information and recruitment arrangements document upload appear for Category 1 studies versus Category 2 and 3 studies? Will for publication option only appear in Category 2 and 3? What if the category of a trial changes in RFI? Giovanni? Giovanni, you're muted.
Sorry. So first of all, thank you for this question. As it was shown before during the demo, this is simply a matter of technicality of the system. So the placeholders dedicated to subject information, the informed consent form, and the recruitment arrangements are equal for all trial categories. So this means that the user can upload a version for publication and version not for publication. But when switching from a category 2 or 3 to a category 1, a pop-up message will appear that informs the user that for category 1 trial, these documents are not to be published. So the recruitment arrangement, the subject information, the informed consent form, and the SMPC. Obviously, for category 1 trial, just one version needs to be uploaded. So, for example, the informed consent, you need to upload just one version of the informed consent form, and this version can be uploaded in the slot for publication, because in any case, this document is not subject to publication. And for the RFI, the same is applicable. So you can, when you change trial category when replying to an RFI, the same pop-up message will appear, and the same rules will apply.
Thank you, Giovanni. Moving on to the next question. Will the public portal of CTIS allow researchers to see changes to study protocol, endpoints, inclusion-exclusion criteria, and other scientific aspects of a trial, or will older information that changes be removed from public view? Francesca?
Thank you. As per demo, you probably saw that only the latest authorized application is made publicly available, and therefore you won't be able to see any previously authorized application in case there were any modifications on the trial. For transparency reasons, the non-authorized applications are also made publicly available. But yes, in this portal, in this version of the portal, we aimed at simplifying the view and also the system itself, and therefore only the latest information on a study are publicly available.
Thank you very much. Next question. Will there be guidance to avoid accidental publication of documents? The IB and SMPC upload sections are next to each other. Uploading the IB in the SMPC section will lead to publication. Interim and final results face a similar risk. Francesca?
Yes, so this is what I highlighted indeed during my presentation. That is exactly it. The sponsor needs to pay attention when uploading documents in the correct placeholders. The SMPC placeholders is a for publication placeholder. The IB placeholder is clearly not a for publication placeholder. Okay, so this is will the guidance. Yes, there is guidance. This is emphasized in the Annex 1, where you can see that there is a caution message, and I showed it to you before, where it is clearly stating, please pay attention to upload the correct document in the correct placeholder, not only in the Annex 1 to the guidance, but also in the guidance itself. So I hope the message is clear to sponsor.
Thank you.
Interim and final results is also emphasized in the Annex 1 as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, a little bit post festum, but it reads, at which time of the day, June 18th, will the new release go live? In the morning or after end of the Tuesday maintenance window?
So yeah, the questions were submitted before before the go live. The go live was actually as of 18th of June. So as we said, already in the morning of the 18th of June, we had 4,095 trials published, and therefore the maintenance window has been shifted to Monday night, Monday evening. Sponsors were informed, CTIS users, all CTIS users, not only sponsors, were informed of this well in advance, that the maintenance windows for that specific release occurred a day before than the usual maintenance window. So yeah, no longer useful, but just out of curiosity.
Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you.
Next comment reads, having this talk after implementation is not ideal. For future updates to CTIS functionalities, please schedule before the implementation. Knowing when on the 18th the new rules will take effect would help.
Okay. So I've investigated with my colleagues, and this question was asked just before we informed the users. So we had informed the users we informed the users that we would switch to the new rules on the 18th of June. So already 2 months in advance. This was a request that came from sponsors. Therefore, we hope that we gave enough time to sponsors to adapt to the new rules, not only with these 2 months period, but also during the interim period. So the updates of the new rules were already presented at the end of November, highlighting the differences with the with the appendix on disclosure rules through the Bitesize talk in November, and as well as providing information on the interim period through the Q&A in November. We have informed the sponsors already 2 months ago that the rules would take effect as of 18th of June, and the maintenance window was actually communicated more than 2 weeks ago to sponsors. So yeah, we hope that the sponsors came well prepared from our communication. Next one.
Thank you, Francesca. Very detailed response. Next question. Is it correct that the protocol submitted in July or anytime after the new transparency rules apply as part of an RFI response to an application submitted before the 18th of June will never be made public? Giovanni.
Okay, that is correct. So only documents belonging to application submitted as of 18th of June are subject to publication as per revised rules. So the discriminating factor is the application submission. So if your application has been submitted before the 18th of June, the documents belonging to that application will not be made public.
Thank you, Giovanni. Next question. In some cases, member states require extra documents not required under the EU CTR, even when sponsors push back, citing current EMA guidance and GDPR. Must these extra documents be made public, or is this against the new transparency rules? Giovanni.
Okay, so some member states could have specific national requirements. So if the documents required are uploaded in the placeholder subject to application, and the member state specifically requires that the document should be uploaded as for publication, this is not against the revised transparency rule, just because there could be some specific national requirements.
Thank you. Next question. What contingency plans are in place if something goes wrong with the CTIS release? Will mitigation measures differ depending on the impact? For example, the public portal does not publish correctly versus the workspace if not usable. Again, question post festum, but Francesca.
Thank you. This is a very specific question. Yes, of course, as any IT system, when we plan to go live, we also have a mitigation plan in place, and the plan, the details of the plan were agreed internally, and I'm happy to say that it was not used. So the implementation was successful. We brought live correctly the public portal and the workspaces. So although it was thoroughly planned, we did not have to use it.
Good to hear. Next question. Will the structured data for each application after the implementation of the new transparency rules remain public or only the most recent? If older structured data is not public, is this in keeping with the requirements of WHO primary registry? Francesca?
Yeah. So as I said, only the most recent application is publicly available. However, it is possible to track the history of the applications through the specific tab and also through clicking to the plus info button, as I showed before during the demo. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Release June 18 for new transparency rule is a major system update. It will not mean migration, correct? How long does implementation? Will there be a CTIS live system downtime? If yes, how long?
Yeah, it's nice to see these questions because we answered to them straight away after they were done. So the CTIS users were informed in advance of the downtime that occurred on the 17th in the evening, and overall the implementation took around three hours to occur.
Thank you. Next question. Under the new transparency rules, will each application from 18th June become public? For example, would an initial application from August 2024 and each SM from January, July, and March 2026, for example, be public, or only the latest application? Francesca?
Only the latest application, as I replied before. This is also just a reminder in slide 6 of the quick user guide. This was also inserted in the version, in the previous version of the quick user guide.
Thank you. Next question. Multiple not for publication documents are associated with a single for publication document, such as IB for member states and track changes IB for MS. Will both not for publication documents be retained in CTIS on 18th of June? Giovanni?
That is correct. If you have a document for publication and multiple version not for publication linked to that document, only the version for publication will disappear from the system, and all the other version not for publication linked to it will be retained in the system.
Thank you very much. Next question reads, will the summary of results, layperson summary and clinical study report be published in CTIS in case of historical trials submitted before the 18th of June 2024, or only documents which are part of initial application won't be published? Francesca?
The historical trials rules are applicable to the application part of the CTIS dossier. Therefore, as I showed before, which is the case for the trial that I showed before in my demo, results that have been submitted on trials submitted before 18th of June are publicly disclosed as per revised rules, and therefore for Category 1 trials in adults, they're going to be disclosed 30 months after the end of trial. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. If only the latest version of protocol will be displayed on CTIS, only the last protocol version for CAT1 will be disclosed. Why require publication for every CAT1 protocol version if only the last version will be disclosed?
So the question is, I'm not sure we understood the question. So I understand that the user is asking why do we require for publication version for every modification that the user is doing, the sponsor is doing. And the reason for this is that we cannot know if the trial will stay as initial or if there are going to be any substantial modification on it. Therefore, the latest version for us needs to be the one updated and ready to be disclosed as per revised transparency rules. If I did not interpret correctly this question, please contact us through the service now so that we can further clarify this to the user. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question. Based on the 14 May walk-in clinic, only the latest protocol will be displayed in CTIS. With a 30-month post-EOT disclosure delay for CAT1 studies, does this mean only the last version of the protocol for CAT1 trials will ever be disclosed?
Yes, this is correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. If an IB has 3 updates in for publication and 2 track changes updates in not for publication, will all 3 IB versions be lost on 18 June? If so, CTIS only permits 1 version of a document to be added back. Will EMA notify all of this limit? Giovanni?
When the version for publication is linked to a version not for publication, as well as for updated version, only the version for publication will be retained in the system. In the previous version of the quick user guide, this concept of a deletion for publication document has been explained, but with regard to the possibility of keeping only the track changes documents in the application, discussions are ongoing, and the sponsor will be notified through an updated version of the Q&A on protection of personal data and CCI that will be disseminated soon.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. Moving on to the next question. Strength is scope of publication, but active substance name is not. In CTIS, strength is displayed in combination of active substance name and strength. Example, XYZ 10 milligram. Would the publication be only strength? Question for Francesca.
So thank you. The active substance names is in scope of publication as per revised rules, but also as per former rules. So this did not change. The only change regards the fact that for category 1 trials, as well as for phase 1 and 2, integrated phase 1 and 2 trials, this field is disclosed 30 months after the end of trial date. The active substance is taken from the X7PD, and as per X7PD guidance, in case the sponsor is advised not to include the strength in the name of the active substance. So this is important in case the sponsor finds that the strength is a confidential information, then they need also to pay attention not to include, and this is not to include it in the name, and this is not only applicable to CTIS but also to X7PD. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Next question. Clinical trials that were submitted with deferrals and then received a decision after mid-August 2022 are not available in the public domain. Will these trials become public after June 18? If yes, what information will become public? Francesca.
So yes, we made these trials publicly available, and that's why I'm happy that we could implement and go live on Tuesday, because many trials could then be available to patients and researchers and the public, the general public. How? This was stated in the quick user guide as well as in the ActEU Q&A already in November. These trials, since they are submitted, they have been submitted before the 18th of June. They are considered historical trials, and therefore their documents are not disclosed because the sponsors could have had applied, asked for a deferral to these trials. So we could not, of course, disclose documents for which the sponsor did not expect the disclosure. So yes, refer to the quick user guide, and now to the guidance document on the protection of CCIM personal data that has section 2.3 on the disclosure of rules of historical trials. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Next question reads, what will be the impact for studies already approved in CTIS? Will there be documents deleted? Francesca?
So the here we're speaking about the workspaces view, I believe, and if a document is no longer subject to publication as per revised rules, if there were two versions, one for publication and one not for publication, the for publication version has been deleted by the system, cannot be seen anymore by the system because the document is no longer subject to publication. And for this, you can refer to the quick user guide that had this specificity already present in the version of that was published in April. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Next question reads, will the 18 June release solve all document-related issues we have on the current environment? The issues are related with the documents shown on the all documents list and the failure of downloading the zip folder for a given application. Giovanni.
Thank you, Josipa. The release occurred on the 18th of June, is independent of the resolution of other issue. So on this purpose, my advice is to always check regularly the release notes published on the CTIS support page. And additionally, I would like to mention that when you face such incidents, please always raise a ticket, because the prioritization of resolution is also based on the number of incidents received. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. Next question from Slido reads, for studies already authorized in CTIS, will the documents automatically be transferred to the new CTIS public portal, or will sponsors need to re-upload the documents to the new portal? Francesca?
So, as you know, the documents are not displayed for studies that are already submitted, authorized in CTIS on the new public portal. Here we're speaking about supposedly the workspaces, and the sponsors do not have to re-upload the documents in the new workspaces unless they wish to do so in case of clean versions of documents that are missing. On this aspect, however, please refer to the Q&A that is going to be published in the upcoming weeks on this specific aspect. Thank you. And I understand this is the last question that we got from Slido.
Yes, this is correct. Since we have a couple of
yes,
minutes.
I hope that we addressed all the questions as as wished, so that we interpreted all the questions correctly. In any case, please submit ServiceNow queries. I note that we received some queries of the fact that the advanced search is not appearing. Please bear with us, it will appear at one point. And with regards to the training to sponsors, I would like to remind colleagues that we did a bite-sized talk in November already on the transparency rules and on the differences with old rules that are no longer applicable now. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you to all the viewers, and we shall proceed then with the closing remarks. We would like to remind you of the next CTIS events. On 10th of July, we will be organizing the next session of the CTIS Walk-in Clinic. And on 18th September, we will organize the next CTIS Bitesize talk. For upcoming CTIS events, please check the EMA events and the CTIS training and support. The post-event survey is now open so that you can share your satisfaction with the event. You can provide your feedback in Slido using the passcode BT20June or scan the QR code on the screen. The presentations and the recording will be available on the EMA website following the event. You can sign up for the new City Highlights newsletter for information on when the videos are available. The questions will be used as an input to EMA training and support materials. We hope you enjoyed the CTIS Bitesize talk, and we look forward to hearing your feedback on the post-event survey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.